Hey guys, Ben Wright here from the Henhouse Prowlers. We're really honored to be part of Blue Ox's virtual festival this weekend. It's one of the best festivals in the world, and we're really excited that they asked us to share some of our Bluegrass Ambassadors work. I want to give everybody a little context and explain what Bluegrass Ambassadors is. About 5 years ago, the Henhouse Prowlers got an opportunity to travel to West Africa as part of American Music Abroad, which is a program that's been going on for a long time that fosters musical diplomacy. And musical diplomacy has a kind of a rich history in the State Department, and I kind of want to explain that. In the 1950s, the Cold War was going on, and Russia was exporting a lot of their talent abroad to kind of have this culture war. So we started to send some of the best jazz musicians in the world to the farthest corners of the planet to kind of help people connect with each other regardless of language or race or culture. And these programs were amazingly effective. And essentially what we do when we go to these places is we visit schools, we visit orphanages, and kind of do school programming in these countries to give kids who might not have music education not only some of that education, but also let them meet real Americans, not just the politicians and the diplomats. And they're just really powerful experiences, and that's what inspired us to start Bluegrass Ambassadors. We started realizing that we could bring home the stuff we were learning abroad and share it at festivals like Blue Ox and in school programming and online in all sorts of different ways. Like, these experiences we've had don't have to just change us, they can change everybody, because when you get different people from different cultures together and they share music together, you realize really quickly how much we actually have in common with people, not how different we are from them. Just so you know, PBS put out a documentary last year called The Jazz Ambassadors, and as of the airing of this video, it's free on Amazon Prime right now, and I cannot recommend enough. And it chronicles the history of this kind of programming and the early days of it with amazing artists like Louis Armstrong, Dave Brubeck, and even Doc and Merle Watson did a bunch of this work. There are pictures that just surfaced not too long ago of Doc and Merle in Africa doing the same kind of work that we've been able to do. And when I saw those pictures, I got really emotional because it was really cool for me to think one of my heroes had shared in these experiences. I will say that every time we come back from these trips, we walk away really proud of what the Foreign Service does, what the State Department does abroad. There are embassies and consulates in almost every country in the world, staffed with Americans who are there to foster connections between cultures. And we don't hear much about them here in the States, but those people dedicate their lives to that work. And you know, it's definitely repeatedly made me proud to be an American, which is a tall order sometimes. Definitely check out the movie The Jazz Ambassadors, and also make sure you check out our nonprofit Bluegrass Ambassadors. In the meantime, we're going to share with you a little bit about our trip to Africa and the music that we learned and our version of it and their version of it. And then tomorrow we're going to teach you actually how to play the song on bluegrass instruments, which at first is a little daunting, but it's totally doable by pretty much anybody who puts their mind to it. So we can't wait to share it with you. Stop by bluegrassambassadors.org and check out what we're doing. Thanks once more to Blue Ox Festival for putting this together. This is such a great idea, and we can't wait to see you guys as soon as possible.
Oh, hey! In July of 2016, the Henhouse Prowlers visited Kenya for a 5-day, 4-city tour. We flew in to Mombasa, which is a city on the southeast coast of Kenya. Mombasa is it is Kenya's oldest city. It's over 1,100 years old. It's this historic seaport on the Indian Ocean, and it's been taken over and controlled by many different countries throughout its history. One thing that's really noticeable in Mombasa is there's a ton of diversity in the architecture, in the cuisine, and in the culture of the city. So here in Mombasa, we performed at the historic Little Theatre Club. The building that is home to this club was used by the British Navy in World War II, and it's been home to the theater since 1952. In 1960, Louis Armstrong performed here during one of the first Jazz Ambassadors tours. As you know from Ben, he told you that the Jazz Ambassadors tours have evolved into the American Music Abroad tours, which we have been lucky to be a part of. So after a workshop inside the theater with some local musicians, we moved outside onto the steps for a concert because it was a beautiful night. Let's do this outside. Also on this tour, we traveled to Nyeri, which is in the center of Kenya. We traveled to Kisumu, which is on the southwestern part of the country, for concerts and workshops with local bands and local musicians. But three of the really big highlights of the tour all took place in and around the capital city of Nairobi. One was an outdoor concert at a community library with a fantastic band called Sarabi. This concert was sponsored by the U.S. Embassy. It was attended by the U.S. Ambassador to Kenya. That's always a big thrill for us and for the locals in attendance because despite some modern misinformation, ambassadors are really good people. And always good to meet them. One of the most unforgettable days for me as a musician and as a human was our trip to Dandora.
Good, how are you?
Dandora is technically a suburb of Nairobi. It's used as Nairobi's main dumping site. Dandora is literally surrounded by mountains of trash. The poverty and the living conditions here are unlike anything that we can really imagine. So we walked through the ghetto with our instruments, minus the bass, as it was just too big and bulky to safely carry as far away as we were going and through the terrain we were traveling. We arrived at a house that sat out in a field about 100 yards from a mountain of trash. It's a house that was occupied by a group of local artists who take residence there, and who use this house to create a refuge of art and creativity amidst the chaos and uncertainty of life in Dandora. They call the place Hip Hop City. We got to create live and spontaneous music with these young artists. And since we had to leave my bass behind, I couldn't musically take part, but I did take this video. On our final day of the tour, Sauti Sol, who had seen us perform their song Sura Yaka on national TV, they paid us a visit at our hotel. Well, it was a great hang. It was a great chance to share stories of vastly different experiences as bands. One from one a bluegrass band from the United States, one a pop band from East Africa. So we found a lot of differences, and surprisingly, or maybe not so surprisingly, a lot of things in common. And after lunch and after sharing stories, the instruments came out, and we spent several hours jamming in the back corner of our hotel's restaurant. So there you have it, Henhouse Prowlers Kenya tour, summer of 2016.
Thanks for that lovely recap, John. Now I'm going to tell you all a little bit more about our friends Sauti Sol. The band Sauti Sol is an incredibly famous Afro-pop group from Kenya in Africa.
On your worst behavior, Susanna Van Hello, hello, hello. If you get to hear this song, somebody loves you. Susanna Van Hello, hello, hello. Change your mind and come back home. Somebody loves you.
They started in 2005 as an a cappella group, which aligned really well with Bluegrass's high and lonesome harmonies. This made it easier identifying with their music once we learned we would be playing it. Originally, they were just called Sauti, the Swahili word for sound. Eventually, they added Sol, the Spanish word for sun. Combining the two, Sauti Sol became Voices of the Sun. These guys are massively popular across the continent. It's important to mention their music is in Swahili, but is massively popular across the continent and around the world. They continue to grow and evolve as a fantastic pop group and gaining popularity every day. Now let's hear them singing their song Sura Yaka. Check out this awesome official music video.
Nimekuchagua wewe, nikupende mama, sitaki mwingine, aushi usiniache, usinitende mama, usipende mwingine. Moyo wangu ni mwepesi, umenikalia chapati, nafanya vituko kama chizi, kukupenda sitasizi. Moyo wangu ni mwepesi, umenikalia chapati, nafanya vituko kama chizi, kukupenda sitasizi. Sura yako mzuri mama, mzuri mama, mzuri mama, mzuri mama, na tabasamu lako maua, mzuri mama, mzuri mama, na sura yako mzuri mama, mzuri mama, mzuri mama, mzuri mama, na tabasamu lako maua, mzuri mama, itabidi nikulinde, nikutunze mama, usikose lolote, pete nayo nikuvishe, nikuoe mama, usiende popote. Moyo wangu ushakubali, umenikalia chapati, nitakulinda kama polisi, itabidi nikumari. Moyo wangu ushakubali, umenikalia chapati, nitakulinda kama polisi, itabidi nikumari. Sura yako mzuri mama, mzuri mama, mzuri mama, yeah, mzuri mama, tabasamu lako maua, mzuri mama, yeah, mzuri mama, oh, mzuri mama, na figa yako kama ya chupa, mzuri mama, baby, mzuri mama, yeah, mzuri mama, na sura yako mzuri mama, mzuri mama, mzuri mama, yeah. Piga dance kidogo, piga dance kidogo, dance kidogo, piga dance kidogo, dance kidogo, piga dance kidogo, dance kidogo. Sura yako mzuri mama, mzuri mama, mzuri mama, mzuri mama, tabasamu lako maua, mzuri mama, oh yeah, mzuri mama, yeah, yeah, mzuri mama, sura yako mzuri mama, mzuri mama, you're so beautiful, mzuri mama,
ahead and take a look at this song. If you were paying attention, you might have seen or heard some really interesting things. Maybe you saw a goat on screen. No, not Michael Jordan. As Chris mentioned, Sura Yaka is in Swahili, so we have to do some translating to understand the meaning. If we translated Sura Yaka to English, it literally means your face. So in the chorus, when we sing Sura Yaka Muzuri Mama, we're talking about this lady's beautiful face. It's worth noting that mama in Swahili doesn't directly translate to mother, but instead means lady or girl. Here's the translated part of the chorus in English. This song's video is portraying a Kenyan wedding. So let's go ahead and take a look at the part of this video where the man is picking out a lady out of a group of ladies who have their faces covered up. So this is a ritual that started with 2 tribes in Kenya and has expanded to be pretty popular in modern day Kenya. Think of it more as a game to play instead of a ritual nowadays.
As you can see from the crowd reaction, he might have picked the wrong one.
From Kenya to here in the US, I think it's a very relatable through line to protect the woman you love. Goes to show that we aren't all that different. Some values are universal to the human experience.
Thanks for that, Jake. He's a pretty cool guy, huh? Now we'd like you to check out our version that we recorded of this song when we were at Pace Studios in Atlanta earlier this year.
Sataki Magine, Ashu Siniache, Sinatende, Amama, Usapede Magine. Boy, was on me and we passy, Ubinically Chipati, Nepani Vitu Coca Machizi, Kubanasa Tassizi, Boy, on me and we passy, Ubinically Chipati, Nepani Vitu Coca Machizi, Kubanasa Tassizi,
Sura Yaka Muzuri Mama.
Now you make you share, Niku Mama, Siende Popote, Jamoyo Wangu Shakubale, Pumanically Chipati, Nitako Nena Kama Polisi, Itabidini Gumare, Moyo Wangu Shakubale, Pumanically Chipati, Nitako Nena Kama Polisi, Itabidini Gumare, Sura Yaka Muzuri Mama.
Piga densiki dogo, piga densiki dogo, densiki dogo, piga densiki dogo, densiki dogo, piga densiki dogo, densiki dogo. Sura Yaka Muzuri Mama, Muzuri Mama, Muzuri Mama, Muzuri Mama. Habasama lako mawa, Muzuri Mama, Muzuri Mama. Muzuri Mama, Sura Yaka Muzuri Mama, Muzuri Mama, so beautiful, Muzuri Mama, Muzuri Mama, Muzuri Mama, so
Thanks everyone for joining in, and thanks for Blue Ox for putting this on. Be sure to tune in tomorrow and we'll teach you how to play this song. We'll see you then.